Now, back to the Property Tax Show with Brad Hayes, president of Illinois Tax Appeal Services on AM 560. The Answer.
Welcome back. With me in the studio is Stephen Reick, a candidate for District 63 of the Illinois House of Representatives. Steve earned his bachelor's degree in accounting from the University of Illinois in 1975 and his master's degree in taxation and his JD from the University of Georgia. His professional experience includes working as an attorney at his own private practice in Harvard, where he lives with his wife, Deb. Welcome, Steve, and thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Why do you want to become a state representative, Steve?
Well, probably because I'm crazy, but there are some issues in Illinois. I'm a lifelong resident of Illinois for all practical purposes. I keep coming back here. I grew up here, went to college here, obviously, and the state of Illinois has got so much opportunity and promise, but so many things have happened in the past 20, 25 years that require somebody to talk about. And I have always had an interest in public policy, and the policies that I'm interested in are the ones that lend themselves to being solved at the state legislative level. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Sure. What is your vision of Illinois? Everybody has their own vision of how they would like to see things go and turn out. What is your vision for Illinois moving forward?
You look at this state and you see the promise. You see the great research institutions. You see that we're sitting on the shores of 20% of the world's fresh water. We're the transportation hub of the United States. We've got an incredibly diverse and well-educated and hardworking labor force, people who want to work. And my vision for Illinois is one of making all those parts work again. And I don't think it's going to be that difficult for them to work as long as we, and I'm talking prospectively here as a state legislator, as long as we do our job in Springfield and create the circumstances and the conditions in which those people can actually do the best they can do.
And what conditions can be changed? Because the conditions right now are pretty tough.
Well, the first and obvious one is the issue of the budget. We need to get a budget passed in Springfield. Out in the 63rd District specifically, the issue is one of property taxes, which is the purpose of this program. But property taxes are the number 1, 2, and 3 issue to the people in McHenry County in the 63rd District. Mm-hmm. People are getting taxed out of their homes, and it's hard to look forward when what's happening is you don't know if you're going to be able to make your next real estate tax bill.
Well, and you're right. I mean, Illinois has the second highest property taxes in the nation, and the collar counties, have some of the highest taxes in the nation. Chicago just increased their highest property tax in history. And so when you're out meeting with the folks, this is their big concern right now.
It is. And frankly, the people in McHenry County look at the people in Chicago and say, if you were paying taxes at the same rate that we're paying out here, there would be a revolt in Chicago. It's really illustrative when you compare tax bills of properties of equal value between the city of Chicago and, say, McHenry. Mm-hmm. And when we're paying taxes on a house in McHenry at twice the level as a house of similar value in Chicago, people in McHenry County are kind of like, hey, you've got your problems, but boy, we've got ours. And ours right now are keeping a roof over our head.
In your opinion, what do you think is the single most driving force in these ever-increasing property taxes? Why do they keep going up at the rate they are?
Education funding. Pure and simple, education funding and pensions. The Illinois, the way we fund education in Illinois is skewed, in a manner of speaking, toward the city of Chicago when the money comes from the state, leaving the collar counties and McHenry County in particular dependent upon property taxes to make up the difference. I mean, we have the same mandates, we have the same education curricula and all that kind of stuff as schools in Chicago do. But when the overwhelming majority of the general state aid, poverty grant, and PTEL credits are going into the city, disproportionate to the number of students they're trying to educate, What's left is putting that cost in my district onto the backs of the property tax owners, and we just can't afford it.
You know, last week in Kane County, they had a meeting to vote against, or to vote for, I should say, the property tax freeze that we've all heard about. How do you feel about the property tax freeze?
I have a problem freezing something that's too high to begin with. I think that what needs to be done is we need to look at the way in which we fund education in the state. Article 10 of the Constitution is pretty plain. It says the primary responsibility for funding education in the state belongs to the state, not to the local taxpayers. And the problem is that there's no other place to find money than the property taxes, and the issue is how high can they go before people just dig in their heels and say we've had enough. I'd like to see taxes come down, because I've always said that if your property value goes down, as it has in the past 8 years with pretty much everybody in this state, if your property taxes go down and your taxes don't go down as a result, you're just renting your house from the government. You don't own it.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you said that the state is should be the primary funder for the school districts. The challenge is when they're paying such high retirement pensions, there's little money left over to actually go into the school districts.
Well, that's true, and there's also the issue of the disproportionate effect that the pension underfunding of our pensions has on the state budget. I mean, next year, 24% of our general revenue is going to go to pay for pensions, and the overwhelming majority of that is for the underfunding. So it skews what you can do with a budget when a quarter of it is taken off the table and made to pay for something that should have been paid years ago. So what needs to be done is we need to have a budget process that takes that underfunding and moves it someplace else with its own separate revenue stream, allowing us to have a budget that only works to fund current operations, including the current accrual on pensions, but not this massive underfunding, because that's going to go nowhere but up in the next 20 years before it's supposed to start coming down and be completely eliminated by 2045.
So why do we have the massive underfunding? Why aren't they funding it?
Because taxes. I'm a tax lawyer, and over the years I've learned that the easiest money to borrow is money you should be paying over for taxes, but the hardest money to pay back is the money you borrowed from the tax collector and used for other purposes. And the state of Illinois, the legislature has been up to their elbows in making money go someplace other than where it's supposed to go into the pensions. Because the fact is, the Constitution guarantees benefits. So those who are down there negotiating teacher salaries, government employee salaries, and all that are saying, well, this is guaranteed. Let's kick that down the road. Let's take the money that should have gone into the pension and pay you a higher salary, which, of course, will then accrue into a higher pension benefit when the time comes for you to retire. So it's a vicious circle. I lay the blame strictly and solely at the feet of the state legislature, but there are other people who are responsible as well. A lot of it has to do with teachers say we pay everything in that we're supposed to pay, but those teachers elect the people that go down there and represent them, and they're sitting across the table from people that they are given money to. So they're basically negotiating with themselves. This is a recipe for disaster. It
is. And then you have, the problem of in the last 2 or 3 years of their employment, they do the spiking of the salaries.
Yeah.
So there's just all kinds of issues.
Well, my background is in the private sector. Most of my clients are pilots with United and American Airlines. And over the years, early in my career, guys would bid up to a bigger airplane, make more money so that they have a bigger pension. Well, unfortunately, those pensions are gone because of the bankruptcy, and a lot of it had to do with the issue of, these types of things. So, it's no different in state government, but the problem is government is a monopoly. Government can't go out of business.
Sure.
So, we're dealing with a totally different situation here.
We're speaking with Stephen Reick is a candidate for the 63rd District for the House of Representatives. We will be right back after this commercial break.